Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the US, multifamily property management. I'm joined today by Cristy Abud, Director of Training and Compliance at Priderock Capital Management, a multifamily firm that has grown from just under 10 properties to over 70 communities across 20 states, now managing more than 20,000 units. Over the past 11 years, Cristy has risen through the ranks, starting as a temporary leasing agent and becoming a key leader, shaping training, compliance, and operations company-wide. Her journey is rooted in hands-on experience, having worked on site, supported teams across the country, and now overseeing a department that includes 3 trainers and 2 coverage and support specialists, often referred to as the fixers. She's passionate about mentoring from the ground up, grooming new hires into future trainers, and maintaining the personal touch even as technology transforms the industry. Today, we'll talk about how she rebuilt Pride Rock's trading model into something more sustainable, and her current focus to overhaul their LMS and launching impactful maintenance training, and how she uses data and a great relationship with the ops team to set specific and attainable goals for her coverage and support team. We'll also dig into how she balances process with people, how her team drives results through structure and support, and why her ultimate motivation is helping others grow personally and professionally. Now, before we get started, we're sponsored today by the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file review and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would like this episode. So, Cristy, thank you so much again for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Before we dig in, we have a lot to talk about today. But before we do, I'd love for you to share with our listeners how you got your start in the industry.
Sure. So I started back in 2014, straight out of college. I actually took on the job because it was going to be in the afternoon, so I can continue into grad school in the morning. And then it kind of sucked me in. I worked at that property in New Jersey for a few months, and then I worked my way up. I started working in with the same company in Florida, and then as we started to grow, so did my position. So I started traveling with them into properties that we were buying, selling, properties that were short staffed, and I was still working technically on site at the time, and my bosses kind of got tired of asking permission to be able to take me places, so they just kind of made it a position on in the corporate side for me so that they didn't have to be asking all the time. And then from there I was turned into a trainer and coverage, and then in, into what I am where am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know that there are a lot of people out there who, love those stories of success and love to hear about someone, not just rising through the ranks, but also, you know, I would say transitioning from an on-site role where your impact is very singular to moving into a corporate role where you get to have a much larger impact across the entire portfolio, across multiple states. So tell me, what do you think it was about you and what you were doing that led to that promotion and them creating a position for you?
um I wholeheartedly believe it's my yes personality.
Okay.
I was a lot younger. It's been almost 11 years, and I was a yes person. Yes, move me to Kentucky for 6 months. Go ahead, send me to Seattle for a while. I mean, I didn't know how to say no at the time.
Yeah.
Looking back now, maybe some things I should have said no to, but that definitely impacted a whole lot. Also, I quickly switched my perspective when it came when on site your when you're working on site your um main m- main group of people, my customers if you want to call them, were the prospects, the people that live there. And I was quickly able to shift from my customer being the on-site staff.
Mhm.
So that really helped me out because that means that I started catering to, and I started doing everything possible for the on-site team to be 100% prepared for anything that came in that door.
Yeah. Oh, I love that actually. Kind of quickly changing the perspective of who your customer is. I think that's really smart. And obviously that's kind of led you to where you are today. So tell me a little bit about your role today and what it comprises.
Yeah. So today I do some of the virtual training. So I do host every week. One week we'll do our CRM training, and then the other week I'll pick a random topic that we get to discuss in our virtual 1 hour followed by Q&A sort of thing. I also get to spend my time researching what's new, what's trending, how can we better ourselves. I look at all of our numbers and see where we can reach someone that needs us. um I, the data speaks for itself, and it usually a property that has low occupancy will also have low assessment scores, or low anything else really, like, and high, and then on top of that also high maintenance requests. So we're able to catch that by looking at those numbers. We're able to catch it at a time where it's still able to get fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned having the space to look at what's new and trending. What is new and trending right now?
AI is taking over completely.
Yeah.
The problem is that we still have to have although we want AI, we love AI, AI has really helped a whole lot. It really is also taking off the personal touch, taking away that personal touch, that person, getting to these people, having a conversation with them. And that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time telling these people it's amazing that you have AI. I want you to use these AI, but I also want to make sure that you're not losing that personal touch.
Hmm.
Because at the end, what would make us different from a property across the street, what I want it to be, is that they're going to feel like they're walking into home when
Yeah.
they walk into our office and deal with us.
Yeah. So are you guys using AI on your sites right now?
So yeah, they're using a combination. We are using AI. We have an AI that responds to prospects. They are using an AI when they're responding to sort of emails, just to kind of make sure that it's their second eyes
Yeah.
for the most part. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you worry about it removing the personal touch. Are you seeing that in any of the data?
I've been on top of it, but I can see it because at one point we weren't doing many phone calls.
Yeah.
So a phone call is an easy way for you to detect if someone's actually on the phone having a one-on-one conversation, and not just a phone call where it's coming in and one of our bots in the back or one of our AIs in the back are going in and responding to these calls very much on like press one, press two sort of thing. But in it by looking at our box score, I could see the decline in that, and I can also see the decline in emails that were being responded by an actual human
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So we needed to shoot that back up again.
Yeah, so you really are using the data, and obviously, taking that data and then turning it into actionable items and virtual trainings. But tell me a little bit about you've gone through this journey with Pride Rock, and you witnessed their growth from just a few properties to now 70 and 20,000 units. And so, tell me a little bit about the growth of your team, the evolution of your team over that size, and what your team looks like today and what they're focused on.
Yeah. So at first it was just me,
Yeah.
right? And then we started adding people one by one. And then back in 2020, when I overhauled it and kind of took over the training in Pride Rock, we started adding training and compliance. So right now we have three trainers, two of them travel full time anywhere where we are within those 20 states. And then we have two that are coverage and support. So those are my people that if they are short staffed or if they have a goal that they need to reach and they don't have the capacity to do so, those are the ones that go to those properties to get that done. From my trainers, I have one that specializes in training the managers, and she's very sweet and very calm. And then another one that he's so good at the leasing part of it. And the assistant part of it that he goes in and he's all hands on deck sort of thing. And then the one that doesn't travel, she actually gets the most contact with people because she doesn't have to worry about that travel week, right? That travel day. So she is on Zoom calls daily getting with them, and she is also such a great component of it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a team of 6 total for you, right? Including yourself. That's a pretty big training and support team for 20,000 units, which I think is really incredible. Why do you think that Pride Rock is willing to and interested in investing in the training and support division so much?
We and I have seen this because since I started when the company was so small and have grown exponentially since then, yet we still haven't lost the small company feeling where you are a person, you're not just a number, right? And if one person is struggling, it's going to be all hands on deck. So if one property is struggling or just the manager doesn't have any support, we 100% believe that we will send anyone and everyone that needs to be sent in order to fix that problem. That's why we're
Mhm.
kind of the fixers, right? We have that time, and whether it's they just didn't realize that they weren't following a policy and we needed to go
Yeah.
help them out and to fix all their leases, or that doesn't happen often, but things like that. We're able to do that if they are short staffed in the maintenance department and they are falling behind and getting units ready or just about anything really. We make sure to send everyone out there. I also think that that's what separates us from a lot of companies is that we are such a big support system and a support group that's going to be all hands on deck whenever anyone needs it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and I love that that's the focus for you and your team is really providing that support to the on-site teams, like when they need it and where they need it. And speaking of that, you and I have discussed, how difficult it can be for, especially for a support team member who's traveling from site to site, from week to week, and you have a couple of interesting ways in which you approach managing those kind of floating fixers, your support team. So I'd love to talk about that. And can we first start with the team? So you knew what it was like to travel constantly, and now you have two team members that you have traveling constantly. What is your structure for logistically how they manage all of their travel and just making sure that they stay happy and that they stay with you?
So I have a rule where every so often I will ground you, or if it's been busy and I've seen that you're kind of like at the end, I will ground you whether you want to or not, because your your mental health is more important to me than you going to another property.
Yeah.
Um and I also want them to make sure that they're feeling comfortable, right? I've been there where I stuck it out an extra week when I know I probably shouldn't have stuck it out an extra week. So I want to make sure to kind of stop it there. Also, I can't promise work-life balance when you're working as a traveler 100%. However, I can try my best to make sure that you have your whole weekends all to yourself at home. So if that means flying out Monday morning and flying back Friday afternoon, then so be it. If you decide to stay because you're going to be there the extra week, then that's totally fine. But I'll let them handle that if they want to pick that or not. I strongly believe that them having that break really does guarantee that we're going to have more success.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really nice to, I know that when I travel for work, I can easily work like 16-hour days because, I'm not at home. There's nothing like I can't, clean the house or like cook myself dinner or whatever it is. Like I could just work while I'm, eating takeout. And so when I travel, I know I can work 16 hours a day. So I think it's really smart to be really aware of that with your team that, it's so easy when they travel to just put in countless hours to work through the weekend, to show up on site and to not take any time for themselves, and how important it is for us as leaders to identify that and make sure that we're creating that space for them.
And I encourage them to not put their lives on hold when they're traveling because they do have. So I have the two the two for support and then the two
Mhm.
traveling trainers. That's four of them that I'm always like, you shouldn't stop living because you're traveling because this is what you're doing. So go ahead and go to your Pilates class or yoga class or whatever you're doing, or go to a game or do something, not just work while you're there.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's such smart advice. I really do. It's amazing because as a leader, like I don't think it's really first of all, these types of positions where you're traveling 100% are, they're unique and not super normal for people to travel 100%. And so I think it's really great that you have that experience and so you can lend that as a leader to your team.
Yeah, I traveled full time for almost 6 years.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I know what they are feeling and I know what they're doing. So that's why I do put my foot down when it comes to them on that.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm gonna ask a random question, but where's the best place you ever traveled to
Ooh,
for work?
Colorado Springs is very nice.
Really
I like
nice.
Colorado Springs.
I
Seattle, I was there for quite a long stretch of time. I was there for about 4 months, never saw the sun once while I was there. I even went and saw the whale. I went whale watching. And of course, the day I'm already in the plane and the sun just like decides to come out a random afternoon at the end of April. Like,
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. I love Seattle. We have a client there, so I go visit every once in a while. I love that city. Okay, so let me now ask, what's the worst city you had to travel to?
ooh. Um, I don't think it was so much the city as the experience I had in the city, and
Okay.
that would be Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't it w- I our property is not in the bad side of town per se, but you kind of have to get to the bad side of town if you want to run any errands and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not a fun experience.
Oh, I have been to Louisville quite a bit. Actually, Louisville is where I started my property management career. We bought a 596 unit portfolio. It's like five small deals that we operated as one deal in Louisville, and so I started there, and it was. It's an interesting market. It really is. So I agree. That's funny. My property management torture stories come from Birmingham, which like Birmingham is like a great city now, and it's like really up and coming. But we had a portfolio of assets there that struggled hard. And so every time I went down there, I knew it was going to be so hard. So I know that experience.
Oh, my close second would actually be Colorado Springs
Yeah.
as well.
That's
It
funny.
was it was right after some storm. There was no hotels available. I had to stay at a hotel called Elegante.
Oh.
Wasn't elegant to say the least.
Oh,
But they sort
no.
of knew it because they gave us a whole bunch of like aromatherapy, small
Oh,
little aromatherapy
no.
bottles. So I think they knew what was happening.
Oh, no, that is such a bad sign. Oh, goodness. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, you've talked a little bit about like the structure of your team and how you're supporting them and making sure that they can still feel like successful and have that high level of mental health in a really difficult job that requires 100% travel. But how do you something that I'm really interested in is the fact that you actually try to set goals or do set goals for these team members when they go out on site, specifically the fixers, which I think is really unique. So tell me a little bit about your goal setting process and how you structure those goals with your team.
So, yeah. When you're working on site, you always have that end goal, right? Whether it's someone moving in and or having your occupancy at a certain percentage. When you're part of my group, it's really hard for and if you think about it, it's really hard to actually have like a goal besides going and just go train someone
Hmm.
or, so letting them know what I would like for them to accomplish for the week kind of sets them up also mentally, as in we have to make sure we get this done. But also it makes them be able to tick something off of their list, right? Because
Hmm.
that means they have a goal that's very attainable and that we want to put for them, and they're happy about it, and they get very excited when they actually complete that goal. That goal, I don't always come up with it myself. I can't say I live at that property and I work there for me to know exactly what's going on. I definitely reach out to the regional or our VP of ops to get that goal for them, and they really do like it. And when they send me the email on Friday afternoons letting me know that they accomplished it they that they feel like they've actually made a difference there. Because
Hmm.
unlike when someone lives on site and someone works on site, that they're not there for the whole cycle of either coming in to apply for the apartment. They're not going to be there for when that person
Yeah.
moves in,
Hmm.
or when someone comes in upset over something, maybe something's broken in their apartment. They're probably not going to be there until it's fully fixed and they're able to call in and make sure that resident is happy now.
Yeah.
So that way they still get that satisfaction, but just in a different way.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned, working with the VP of Ops and the regional managers, and a lot of times within property management organizations, you can see that where the on-site teams and the centralized teams, the corporate teams, like really want to work together, but there can be a little bit of a push and pull between those teams. How do you feel like your relationship with your operations team flows? And, like, what advice would you give to working in that capacity?
Uh, so I am kind of that liaison between both the on-site and the corporate level,
Yeah.
and it's because I've done both, right? And um when it comes for the corporate level, expecting something from on site, and they'll come to me all the time. Actually, this week I'll have a training with their accounting team on what it is that the on site does and how they do things so that they can
Yeah.
better understand and they can tailor their documentation and their information to that. And vice versa. If someone's frustrated on site because they haven't been able to reach someone or haven't been able to get something approved or something, it's important for them to realize, well, you might just be that one person, but I promise that as soon as they get to you, they're gonna get it in, and we have to put a little something in someone's ear to make sure. So I wouldn't say we're the peacekeepers,
Mm.
but we definitely make sure that they understand both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, like, the training and support team really acting as, like, the liaison between the 2 different departments. Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. I really like that. Has it always been that way since you've been building this team?
Um, you know, Unfortunately, sometimes, and more from the corporate side, if they want something yesterday, it's because they really need it.
Yeah.
Um, but but if you've only worked on one side, you've never really been on site. Like if you really, really need something on the first of the month, someone in like accounting really needs something on the first of the month, but it's one of those properties where everyone comes in to pay in person and have a whole conversation with you, which you have those, especially in communities that have an older demographic,
Yeah.
that before they give you your money, they want to sit down and have a conversation. And it's just like sometimes it's not attainable, right? It's not attainable for them to be able to stop. Not that what they're doing is not important and what they need requiring is not important, but you kind of have to let them know, it kind of happens. Is it always the case? Even with myself, it's really not always the case. Sometimes we do get frustrated on each side.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's kind of like learning that the frustration is okay sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do with that frustration?
Um, Go to happy hour at 5 o'clock afternoon.
I love it. Hey, do what you gotta do. So, well,
Always
so
think I actually do believe that everyone should have that their one to go person, their like
yeah.
go to person that has signed an NDA and they're not allowed to talk about what's going on. But that you can just voice your frustration with them because you shouldn't keep that frustration inside because it's just gonna ruin your next day or whatever happens after work.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's such great advice. Have that confidant that you can that
Yeah.
sign that NDA. I love it. So, speaking of payments, actually, so you said some of your communities just have, which by the way, having worked in accounting before, I know that it's so easy for an accounting team to reach out and say, "Hey, I need this variance report done today." And of course, the on-site team is like, "There's no freaking way that's getting done today unless it's like 8 p.m." But you mentioned, um, the residents coming in and making their payments. So I was going to dig into tech, but I'm going to start here for a second. So you still have a lot of residents who are actually bringing their money into the office. So are you guys looking at converting to paperless payments or offices or anything like that?
So we've offered them a whole lot of options. We have whips, we
Yeah.
have the online payments, we have Flex, which is something a little different, but we have so many options. And we do have these certain places that as much as we've pushed for them to go online and not have them come in the office, they really just do. We have um one great one is our property in New Orleans where the
Mhm.
demographic is not only older, but they've probably been living there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they take the beginning of the month as they're chatting with the property manager or whoever's in that office that time to have a conversation about what's going on,
Yeah.
or what's going to happen at the community, what events are going to. So I think for them it's more of coming in to the office and knowing who's there and having a friendly face to talk to more than just bringing in a check.
Yeah.
I mean, we have gotten rid of our boxes, so we don't have like drop boxes.
Yeah.
So there's nowhere the only way that they can pay in person is if the office is open and available for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they still do.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy. We're working with a lot of customers right now to essentially become paperless in the office. And it's actually really not about, not wanting the residents to come in and chat. It's really just about the risk that is involved with any sort of paper payment. Um, the risk, the time that it takes the on-site team to post those and to scan them, and there's also, like, a delay in, like, receiving those funds versus electronic methods, so, working with a lot of groups to do that, and of course, as you know, going through, a massive change like that is a lot, but our team we're seeing a lot of teams working on that right now. So, Krista, you mentioned we've talked a little bit about AI and, technology, but what sort of technology is your team using, to help with your training and support initiatives?
So we use Grow LMS,
Okay.
and I am able to create videos, whether it's a quick video tutorial or record one of my regular monthly, weekly sessions and upload it for them to have access to it. And also, I'm able to upload all types of documentation in there. We also make it a little bit of a game where there's a scoreboard involved. So we've been overhauling our LMS for it's been a while since September because we have to kind of go down every single position to create it, and we're almost at the finish line. We have like one more left. Um, but that way they get the initial training, and that also includes the HR things. For maintenance includes a lot of the safety components and stuff. So they'll get the initial training from there where they'll have a foundation and a base point for when either someone from my team or myself come in for the on-site team. They kind of know the lingo and what's happening from the beginning. And now from the maintenance side, not only do we have all of the safety, sorry, completely
Yeah.
forgot there, all of our safety stuff in there, but we also have we're using a great company that does the simulations for training, so they get to learn how to do anything and everything, which means we also get to do a lot of when it comes to the maintenance staff. We get to hire from within.
Mhm.
So when if we know that us the an assistant maintenance supervisor is going to be moving up the ranks, we kind of have the opportunity to tell them like go in there, explore, go see what else you don't know, and kind of learn from there. Those simulations are really good, and we've had great feedback from them. I still wish they would use it a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get from them.
Yeah, I feel like that's with any LMS. Like you always wish people would use it a little bit more, but any usage is good. Is the Grow LMS platform, is that specific to the real estate industry or is that industry agnostic?
So I'm almost positive don't quote me on it, but I'm almost positive it is because they do have several catalogs, and I've seen a couple of them, and they all seem like they are catered to the multifamily or the property management for sure.
Okay, so they come with a lot of preloaded content, but then you are capable of adding all of your own content and essentially
Yeah.
like paths for all the different positions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We've had to do that with not only so it we use Yardi systems, and it doesn't have anything in Yardi, any of the Yardi training on there.
Okay.
Since it is just for us, where I'm able to upload some of that stuff in there since it's not public for anyone else to see it. And then anything else, especially when it comes to policies and procedures on things, I'm able to upload it in there. So it's there, documentation's there, our assessments are there, and we're able to make sure that it, and again, data that you know what's been taken and what hasn't been.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then you've also mentioned to me that you utilize team surveys.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also Valence docs. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we use our forms or teams, and that we will do assessments on there. We'll do like any survey that we have going on and asking question on things. Our assessments are so good because we're able to know exactly where they need the most help in.
Okay.
Or like I just completed our company wide for managers and assistant manager assessments, and from there, if everyone's getting one particular question wrong, that means we haven't done a good job letting them know what that is.
Yeah.
So we're able to go in there and have a conversation with them because they're not doing it wrong if they were never taught the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So we're able to kind of see it on that. On Balance Stock is a great company that we've been using that basically all they do is track and mark any difference between our Blue Moon leases, which is what we use, Blue Moon NAA leases, and Yardi, our management software. And they're able to see any difference in what's typed versus what's in our system and flag it for us. So it's an easy way for us to see where they're what they're doing wrong, and correcting it. At the end of the day, we want to make sure it's not so much about them doing it wrong because we can always fix it, but we want to be able to see where it's wrong so that we can fix it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's a really unique use of technology. You know, I know a lot of groups that utilize Blue Moon along with their core property management system, and that there have always been issues with data discrepancies between the two. So that's really smart to utilize a software like that that can essentially audit that for you.
Yeah, and even the little things like maybe they forgot to charge a pet fee
Yeah.
or the dates are wrong. But even if it's just by one day, sometimes that can make a difference. Maybe you typed up a lease for 7 months and it was actually supposed to be 12 months. And that can make a difference because your reporting comes off. And then at the end, you want to make sure that your reports reflect all the work you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, Chrissy, thank you so much for everything that you've shared today about the difference that you're making and kind of how you've grown up really through the system at Priderock and what you guys are doing today. And it's just really an incredible story and the awesome things that you're doing right now with the training department. But knowing that you've been with Priderock for so very long, what do you think is the reason? Like, why do you think you've stayed there? Like, what do you think it is about Priderock as a company that's caused you to remain like so so really tied in to the company and what it's doing?
I they're family at this point,
Yeah.
and not only do they're family, but they're family that I don't that I we see eye to eye with things, right? Where our goals are still aligning with each other.
Yeah.
So we're still there for the residents and we're still there for our employees. And I'm not saying we're perfect, it never are, but that we can still make that difference and that we still have that attitude of all hands on deck really has made me stay.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Christy, I feel like this is such a loaded question for you because you have worked on so many properties over the past few years and had so many experiences with properties. But I am going to ask you to dig down and find a story that you can share with our listeners about your time in property management.
So my favorite story, I find it to be the quite a fun, but it's actually a pretty sad story at the same time, is we took over a property and we closed on that property probably about 10 a.m. in the morning. We find out that unfortunately one of the people there had passed away. And then the coroners and all of that stuff. This person was a truck driver and out of nowhere, no one had visited him for some time. He had been there for a couple days. Out of nowhere, everyone just started showing up because he is a truck driver. He had a bunch of cash stashed into his apartment. So we had a whole bunch of a random kid show up, like an ex-wife, an ex-partner. Um, we had like 10 people show up in one day to try to grab keys to go into that apartment.
Oh,
So much so that we had to have the coroners just take all the cash they could find with them.
oh my
With them,
gosh.
we're like, it's not safe here. I don't know what you have to do, but it's just like it's like someone won lottery and everyone just wants to try to cash in on it. You know, again, it in hindsight now it's pretty
Yeah.
funny to think about it. But this person died of natural causes, and then he had a whole bunch of people that he really didn't have in his life.
Oh
Like
my
a
gosh.
secretary popped out of nowhere. This guy was a truck driver, and somehow he had a secretary. It was pretty funny to watch.
Oh my goodness, what a wild
Yeah,
story, having just stored cash throughout your apartment.
you
Oh my goodness, that's so
like these
funny.
random people, and then at the end, no one got the cash. Like no one actually got it.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Well, thank you for that, Christy. And then my last question that I ask everyone is, do you have a book recommendation that you would like to share with our guests?
So I just finished a psychological thriller
No.
called The Grandmother. It's a psychological thriller about like two girls that were shipped off to their grandmother they've never met before, and because their mother had died.
Okay.
But like as the story comes along, there's like so many jaw dropping reveals, and it's just like it's like the whole thing is just back and forth, and it's a really good book.
Oh,
However, I will say right now, my number one thing that's like catching me is The Rescue of Tiki. So I know that's not a book, but basically it is a book for me because every single day I am looking for this post from Isabel Klee. I think it's at Simon Says. I think you guys need to go check that out before that. And it's like a fearful dog that was taken from an abuse case, and you see him flourish every single day.
oh, that's so
I think that,
interesting.
yeah, it's so cute. It's very cute, but it kind of like like a kid that's flourishing up. It's really it's a heart hugging.
Oh, so
And
sweet.
so
Well, I have to say that your recommendation is probably going to hit home with some of my listeners because that is actually the first fiction book that has been recommended so far. So,
good.
most.
I am glad. We deal with so much in real life with property management that sometimes a little psychological thriller is what you need to get away from it afterwards.
Yeah, I love it. A little reprieve from all the seriousness.
Yes.
I love it. Well, that's fantastic. Well, Christy, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and to share your story and your success in creating that training department and that really that support for the on-site teams to make sure that the sites are successful no matter what challenges they may face. So I love what you're doing, and this was a great conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Carrie.